I've taken some time out here to diagrammatically represent the area of ground that I hope to rejuvenate, looking at the different soil categories, looking at the topology of it and a few things like that. And I'll just go through a few areas as per the legend here. I have categorized them based on if they're wet or dry or very wet. And we start with the surrounding area. Here will be the area where all the scrub, black thorn, white thorn, briars were removed. And that is actually pure brown, very dry soil, that whole area there. Now this area here, which includes the white thorn tree that I left, it's quite dry, very rushy and weedy, but it was the only part, we'll say, that we didn't disturb at all. It's the original high spot, you could say, in the piece of ground. Now, as we move down here towards the drain, this gets extremely wet. It's been really shown up to be very, very wet after the recent rain. There's ponding here at the moment, and the nearest shore is not going to take that water. So what I do propose to do is to bring a new shore at an angle here, with the fall coming sort of at an angle like that, and it should help to remove that water from that wet spot, because that will be permanently wet. It's slightly hollowed here as well, probably one of the shallowest points on the whole piece of ground here. This is the main drain here, and this is where the current shore accesses it there, and we have these two shores here like that. Now I also see an area in the middle here which is also very wet. Shore here would only be in the region of 5 meters, just about 5 or 6 meters. It would take away from that very wet area there, so nothing huge needed there. You might also notice that I have all of these little black or these spots through it. Now they would be representative, as shown on the legend, of all the holes that I have dug, which is in around 52 I think at this stage, to do my dig and drop composting. The holes themselves would hold in the region of between maybe 5 and 10 kilos, well, litres actually, if it doesn't really matter, of manure, compost, whatever, and they would be covered over by some of the soil before the digger would come in. That is something I cannot obviously do until the ground is dry enough to bring a tractor with manure and stuff like that down to it. Now I have the option of getting 2 transport box loads of fairly well rotted straw based horse manure, and I intend to bring that down and scatter it. Most of where I will be putting manure is actually in this region here, because it is quite poor. We have exposed a lot of clay, dauby sort of soil here, and it was breaking down quite well until this wet spell came, but that's going to require a new grading in when it dries out, and I want to pull some of that back further and spread it maybe a little bit over here as well. Spread it as thinly as possible. That'll prevent it from holding water. It's not the best of soil, this particular area here, at all, so that's why I've concentrated so many holes here for compost, to try and bring some life back into the soil. This here is the quarry. It comes right out of the ground here, so obviously any work that we're doing here, we'd have to be very careful that you don't run your power harrow into it, or there could be sparks flying in all directions. This particular area here, I will not be running a power harrow or anything on that. What I intend to do is let the rushes and the grass and the weeds grow on that, and as soon as it comes to a reasonable height, once this is dry enough to travel on, I will cut it with the rotary and just let it, or maybe even with the topper, it depends, and let it rot back in, put some fertilizer. I will be putting some farmyard manure with the side sling over the whole lot here particularly. Now this here is a very interesting area, because there's a wedge of soil here which pure black earth, very, very loamy type of soil. It's only about 6 meters square. Don't know where it came from. It doesn't fit in with the soil profile here at all. Whether it was over the years leaves and stuff decaying down and forming it, but it was exposed when we were scraping back this thing here. So another interesting feature, bears no resemblance to any of the soils in any of these other areas at all. So hopefully once we get a little bit more dry weather, I have planned to put 2 bags of granulated lime on all of this. That's the first thing. Then we will fill all these holes with, I have some well rotted manure in the shed from last year that I didn't take out. Very, very black, rank manure. I intend to fill all them holes with that. And when it has dried sufficiently, I intend to get a digger in just to ravel that back, and then we can go ahead and do the power harrowing, and when we've all that done we can fence it off here. But it's just amazing when you actually walk and study the ground, how many different zones effectively, and also the different clay types, because maybe this has been an area where the spoil from quarries was dumped over the years on top of maybe the native ground that was there. Because funny enough, if you dig down here, for example, just beyond the quarry, about 6 inches down, you're in really dauby sod. Once you get down, you're into pure lovely brown earth, which is very strange, and that wasn't filled in, not in my time anyway, so I can only assume that it was laid down there over the years and it's still there. So that should open that up when we have lime and fertilizer and all of that, and the benefits of that soil underneath in the root zone should help out. Now, the other thing that I'm prioritizing for here is the BACTERISOL treated manures, and we'll be applying that specifically to just this area of the field here, not to any other part of the field before I fence it in. So it'll be an interesting experiment to see the benefits of it. So that's it in graphic form, and it gives me an indication of what I'm dealing with and how best to approach the management and the reseeding and the fertilization of this.